Hey, everybody that's jumping into the actual stream feed here. We'll be with you in just a moment. How's everybody doing that's filtering in here? What you guys got going on? Power hour, sour hour. Are we still shitting the bed snore?
Twitch stream was up. What's up? Yes.
Oh, goodness me.
Yes. Let's just pull up SPY right here. Is that still showing? Yeah, that's working. So no bueno on SPY. Broke 471, which a lot of people were looking for a bounce right around there.
I'm clicking around aimlessly while he gets set up here. Or I can just, if you want to look at 15 Stoner Mans.
No, I'm just waiting for people to hang out. Okay, so Sam Weezy, if the Discord stream is full, you guys can go to the Twitch link. I'm gonna repost it right now.
What is happening? Is that your music, Snorlax? We're getting bombed, son. They've got to be, but I'm not seeing any. Oh, it's Whale. Oh, we just got bombed by Whale.
If the Discord stream is full, again, Twitch. There you go. I was like checking on my tabs. I was like, dude, there's no way this is me.
Yeah, I even muted it on the Twitch because I didn't know what was going on. And then I scrolled down and it's fucking Whale.
Alright, so yeah, the market is not doing too hot right now. Is anything green? Ford, not green. I thought maybe Ford might be green, but it's not.
Is there anything green? Well, I know that. Oh.
Yeah, if you're in puts, that's great. So I was just actually thinking. So we had the FOMC minutes come out today, and obviously there's kind of like a delayed reaction on everything crapping. But let's start the new. We can start the new year by saying, hey, let's think about macro events like that are coming. So like maybe holding calls through this afternoon like it wasn't the smartest idea, you know. I mean, obviously, if you're in puts, then you could have said the same. So if I had puts and the market rocketed upwards, then I'd be saying the same thing. You know what I mean? So like obviously we're reacting to like hindsight's 2020. The market's not doing well. So, but I think we can still say, hey, we can scale out a little bit when like a macro event such as FOMC minutes that can definitely and will definitely move the market
right
hit. So yeah, there's that. Let's see.
And real quick in the Twitch chat, can you guys hear both Snorlax and me well enough? I got a single yes, and I'm gonna run with it. Let's ride.
All right. So what you guys see here is the hot change in tickers page. It's a very popular page. And actually, give me 1 second to pull something up. This is a great time to maybe tease a little something. What's the link? There we go.
The link.
All right, so is this thing working?
Is this thing on?
Let's reset. Okay, so maybe this isn't working at the moment, but so this is something that we're working on. It is essentially the hot change in tickers page that everyone knows and loves, but like kind of like a real time when it wants to work. Did it want to work right there? Maybe the time zones aren't right on my end. But anyway, when it's working properly, it's going to be updating live, telling you like in real time, like you'll see like there's an animation when money is moving into whatever ticker is lit up here. But so yeah, it's not working at the moment, but it will be soon, and you guys will love it. And if you saw the link, good for you, and you guys can hawk it later because I left it up there for too long. But yeah, it'll be cool. So yeah, this is a good time to, while we're here, while the market is crapping itself. So I just want to stress this again because it's good for everyone to hear. That volume is not always a good thing, right? So here's just a prime example. Apple 180 call is leading the way for this week, 200,000 volume, and Apple it's just going down all day, right? So that's just a clear cut example of volume just clearly not meaning like what you want it to mean.
Right.
And maybe we can even look at some more metrics to further back up my thesis on that. So if we look at the Apple, so I just typed in Apple here, ignore the actual feed. Let's just look at the stats here today. So in this case, so yeah, if you look at the call volume versus the put volume, you can see it's almost 2 to 1. And we're still crabbing. So again, volume, not always a good thing. And here, overall call volume, not a good thing. And right here, even in the bullish and bearish calculations, not always face value, not always like, oh, okay, it's this, I can just do this, So just keep that in mind for, I guess, maybe anyone, but especially people that recently started, because when I started trading, I would say, hey, volume is everything, so much volume, like that's it. Volume, that's all I need to know. But there's like a lot more than just volume, obviously. So how much did I start with? Okay, so for some reason, so I did not start with 25,000 when I just kind of started. But I could have, and maybe I should have. That way, I had like the unlimited day trades or whatever. So I guess I just kind of like willingly handicapped myself to begin with. And maybe that was just me kind of being a little bit timid to start. I think I have like a pretty like low YOLO risk tolerance, so that's probably why I didn't want to like have too much in there at once. And like I'm a pretty compulsive person, so I think that was like pretty big of me, to be honest.
Be proud, homie. Let's go.
Yeah.
Development of character.
So yeah, let's talk about some stuff that did work before the market died. So talk about one super simple filter that you can use. A lot of people use it. It definitely highlights a lot of interesting stuff. So we're going to start from a very fresh feed. So as you can see, stuff's coming in. I have nothing inputted. So the very first thing I'm going to do is we'll just start by slapping on a dollar value. So we want to look for stuff that is at least 100,000. And then we also want to look at opening trades. So if you see this symbol right here, you're going to see it next to the trade. I've just toggled it all on. There's going to be we can also further narrow the filters because there's a lot of like ETF index stuff here that you might not necessarily want to be paying attention to. If you want to, that's fine. But like just for like a beginner, we'll just turn it off. And that'll just be easier. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn off this, turn off indexes and ETS. So we're just looking at trades where we can definitely tell that the trader is opening a new position, and this can be, there's a breakdown of it if you select this flow info tab. There's a breakdown of exactly what this symbol means right here. So all of these trades with the symbol, there's a write-up right here. So essentially, given the relation between the size of the trade, the open interest, and then the volume, you can definitely tell that new contracts are being created essentially. So this is a very simple filter, but it's also effective at just sniping like suspicious whales. So
Real
even
quick,
further, yeah, go
Real
for it.
Theta Gain in the Twitch chat says it would be cool if the timestamps were in a human readable format, maybe relative to your local time zone. They are. So there under the time, it says EST UTC 5. That is Eastern time zone. And
Yep,
so
you can
the
set it in
timestamps
the
are relative to your time zone.
yep. If you go to your settings and then your general right here, you can adjust your time zone. It's a relatively new feature that maybe not everyone knows about.
Puregasm says they can't read. Well, you might be fucked, bud.
Yeah.
Thanks for linking that, Nedu.
Yeah, let's okay, I guess we can't link that in the Twitch chat as well, can we? Okay, no, he did right there. Yep, so right there, unusualwhales.com/settings/general. And yeah, you can do that. So again, we're looking at stuff that's being opened. You're gonna get a lot of multi-leg stuff such as this. So we can actually just kind of further narrow this by looking for stuff that isn't like an outrageously expensive contract, uh like this $665. So we have to multiply that by 100, so 66 G's. So we don't really need to see that. So like let's maybe limit our contract size to like $25, which is still kind of big. And you can obviously narrow that down even further. But you don't want to go too low. Well, okay, so let's say we had like a very low, like let's say you're looking specifically for like cheaper contracts. So you could obviously enter a spot range of like $1. Um, but you might so that's fine for one of your tabs, but I recommend using multiple tabs. That way you can see, okay, so yeah, here's a screen of, you know, the cheaper contracts, but I also want to be able to look at the overall flow for whatever contracts I'm looking at. So for example, so if that made no sense, so we have our filter here. So here's like a pretty cheap OUST, like $1 call. It's like a leap call. So let's also pull up another tab and look at the OUST flow like in its totality. So I'm gonna reset all the filters here. So let's start over. OUST. Never heard of this thing before. Probably like, what even is OUST? Ouster.
Like
So
oyster, but with a U. I'm here for it.
LiDAR, all that crazy stuff.
Man, remember when that shit was really going off in like 2020?
Okay, so this thing was a SPAC. It's de-SPACed, and yeah, so right here obviously was when SPAC mania, all that stuff, and yeah, okay, so now it's not doing well. But there is a lot of actually weird flow here. So let's take a look. I have put no premium range here, so that's why we're getting people buying a singular contract for $75 here, people buying 10 of these for $700, etc., etc. Let's actually turn this up to 2,500, which is a pretty small value. But there's actually quite a bit going on here.
Yeah,
So
there are a couple of pretty
maybe,
high premiums in there.
yeah,
For
maybe we'll
something
just
so
turn it up.
small, especially.
Let's turn our results up. Okay, so if you do, maybe we'll just go to 2,500 and we'll just scroll around.
Yeah, Stock
So a
Hustle. I
lot
do
of
remember
call
that as well.
activity. And let's see what these contracts are doing. Okay, so if you click on any expiration date, it will pull up the historical volume and open interest. So as you can see, yesterday no one was buying any of these, but now, or rather, let me not say buy. Let me say no one transacted any of these because people could have bought or sold. So now there's 5,000 volume today. So obviously something is going on. Let's see, how many results do I have here? Why is this? Is that really it? There's no way. Sorry. Maybe this thing's not working properly. Okay, so apparently all of the big activity just started happening. What time is it? Like an hour ago.
Yeah, it's new.
Hold on, 7.5. Okay, yeah. So actually that makes sense. So if you look at this trade right here at 3:07 Eastern, we have the first activity on the 7.5 strike calls for, again, 2024 January. So as you can see here, there was an 80 contract trade here, which increased the total volume. So we're looking at the volume column here. So it increased the volume to 253. So if we subtract 80 from 253, we have about 170. So 170 contracts of this traded before that. So basically nothing. And if we just, okay, so there's like one trade that isn't, there's a couple trades right here. These three right here that aren't the 2024 trade. So don't worry about these. But basically for this 7.5 strike call, the volume just increases like steadily in the last, like since I started streaming actually. So yeah, now there's 5,000 volume on these leap calls. So yeah, there's something we just kind of saw. We saw this with this opening trade filter. So this is something that you can look into further. And let's actually do that right now. So let's check out the intraday analyst for this stock. So we're looking at the most active change, which is essentially the hot chains, but we're specifying for this individual ticker. And Nami, yes, this will become a VOD, so you can check it out later. Unfortunately, Twitch only keeps them up for like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
But
it's
if you
14 days for the peons and then 30 days for affiliates. And
yeah,
so for all of these as well, Nomi, and for everybody in the Discord as well, for the informational things, especially when we got Snorlax on here doing his thing, we'll be clipping like the important stuff and whatnot and helping share that with you in the future as well via the YouTube channel.
Yep. Also, I think if you just make a clip of any part that you find interesting, I think the clip.
Yeah, the clip feature is really good on Twitch as well.
Yeah,
and
the
those
clip doesn't go
stay.
away.
Yep,
I
the
think it
clips
doesn't
stay
go away.
permanently.
So yeah, we're looking at the most active chains here. So these are the contracts that have traded the most today for whatever stock that you input. You can input whatever stock you want here. So again, volume is not everything. And I think we need to go back to, we'll just check out the feed again here. So I said that it started at 3:07 and indeed it did around here. So it looks like there's a whole bunch of sells right here before some buys came in. But like, and it certainly looks like it by the way that the bid ask spread is. So let's actually just make sure that this is the only contract that we're looking at. So there's no confusion. So I'm gonna isolate the 7.5 calls and we're looking at the leaps. Okay, and maybe we'll just get rid of that. Okay, yeah, so there's some people probably buying some of these right now. So if I just get rid of the premium, some of probably like this is one of you guys right now, someone here, whatever. Okay, but anyways. So I said it started at around 3:07 and indeed it did. But like, so it says that the bid ask was, and it is what it says, right? So the bid ask at the time was $1.250. And they transacted at $1. But if we just kind of keep looking at the feed and like see what's going on here, like the bid ask, like, so this is clearly like a pretty illiquid ticker, right? So let's take another view at this ticker. What is it, like OUST? Right.
Yep, OUST.
So let's take a look at the historical. Okay, yeah. So typically not a whole lot going on here. So the average 3-day call volume is not a lot. The average 7-day call volume, not a lot. 30-day call volume, not a lot. Like, we're absolutely smashing it right now. So something is amiss, I guess you could say. It's it's the most call volume. Sorry, let's get rid of these. It's the most call volume in quite some time. Whatever happened here? What happened with the stock there? Price. Okay, yeah. So definitely something a little bit strange, I guess you could say. But yeah, okay. So I've confirmed that this is a kind of like a weird ticker that doesn't typically have a lot going on. And while we're here, let's actually take a look at what happened on this day. So 1 week ago, there was also quite a bit of call volume here, bullish. But as you can see, the stock price went down about 40 cents since. So let's take a look at this. So okay, so it's kind of hard to tell what happened here, just because like there isn't a clear. So again, it's like you have to kind of work out what's happening with the bid ask, because it doesn't always like you can't always take it at face value. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. So right here we see a whole bunch of kind of big call activity. Again, it's a super illiquid ticker, so the spreads are going to be kind of whack. So like we have this opening trade here on the 15 strike calls for the same date that the 7.5 strike calls were bought for. So just now today we're talking about these 7.5 strike calls. A week ago, I guess in this case, I would, given what we know, this is super out of the money. This is like 200% out of the money. So maybe in this case, we can work out that this was indeed a sell. However, if we go back to today's action, it started with a whole bunch of bid side activity, but like it really just feels like someone was starting to buy these all day.
Scaling in almost.
On like just again, a super illiquid ticker, which would explain why, or it doesn't explain why, but like given what we know now that there's all this extra activity here, it just kind of feels like they were bought, honestly. So if you saw this, like, you might think that, I don't know. I don't know what you would think, but to me, it just looks like they're being bought, because like the bid ask kind of sorts itself out a little bit down here.
Yeah, over time there it evens out.
So it really feels like someone basically just created about four. Well, I mean, maybe we'll just round it up to 5. Yeah. So basically all the volume looks to be created by this one individual. I'm just speculating that it's one individual. It could be multiple.
Those ones that filled at the bid with that wide spread though earlier though.
Well, like right at the beginning of the day,
Yeah,
or
like
at
toward
13.
at the beginning of this,
Yeah,
starting
yeah,
to pop off. That is, it is interesting to me that they filled even. I entirely agree with that sentiment that it kind of feels like their buys all the way through, but it's still weird. I don't think I've ever personally gotten that the glory of getting something filled at the bid when there's that big of a gap personally.
you can get lucky. It depends on your brokerage. You can get like some pretty amazing fills. If you don't use Robinhood, like if you use Fidelity, you can get some pretty insane fills.
Fidelity's good. I'll admit that. I just
Yeah.
the mobile UI is pretty.
So anyways, yeah, we have checked out this strange stuff right here. Let's keep looking at it from like, we'll just keep using this as an example. I have no idea what this ticker is. You can enter this like a lotto win, but like there's nothing else that we've gone into here that like would suggest really entering. But something strange is happening here. But let's just keep kind of digging into it. So if you enter a ticker here and you are on the super buffet plan, you will have this button here if you enter a ticker. If you don't enter a ticker, if nothing is there, then you won't have it. So let's enter this ticker and let's hit this button. So this is just kind of like a quick, convenient way to look at what's happening with this ticker. So we have a quick, a very abridged top 5 chains here. Flow levels based on where the money is going and like how much of it is what size premium, and the expirations that the money is going to. So in this case, we're looking at just a whole bunch of activity for the leap calls. And again, there's no puts traded today. There's a total of 35 put contracts. So yeah, that explains why there's really no premium going on here. As far as the dark pool goes, which I don't really know anything about using it to better my trade probability, but here it is. So yeah, OUST. Let's keep checking it out as an example. So we're gonna go back to the intraday analyst, and real quick. So we've hashed out that we believe that at the beginning of all this shenanigans that these were purchased. So if we've worked out that these were purchased, then obviously like the bullish bearish would be thrown off a little bit. So keep that in mind, because what we're gonna check out next will you'll have to kind of work out that it's not being read or not being kind of read back to you kind of correctly. So what I mean by that is if we go to this tickers menu right here and then click on OUST, so this is like the entire options chain, and it shows you um, where like what direction the money is going into. So this is 15 minutes delayed, which is why we're not going to actually be able to see this yet. Give it a few more minutes, and then we come back and like. So this is the contract that we're looking at right here. The 7.5 strike calls for far out. So the beginning of when it happened, remember we said that there was a lot of bid side activity. So that's why. So it's catching up right now. So once it catches up all the way, you're going to see it change to a lot of ask side activity. So that's why it's important to like consider that again, this quote unquote bearish activity might actually be bullish for like if you were trying to go long on this. So consider that, consider using this page just to see where the money is going. So this is obviously a very short chain. Like if we look at Apple, for instance, you can see that the scroll bar is like infinitely longer because there's a lot more Apple stuff going on. So let's see what Apple is trading at right now. Apple's trading at 176. So let's look at the at the money weeklies. So the 1/7/2022. What did I say it was? I said it was 176.
176.
So here we go. Here's like the at the money strikes. Just pretty split.
Apple's still riding the top chains.
Yeah, I mean, I think yesterday it wasn't for a tiny bit, which is kind of like an outlier.
Been like a month now, or longer
Yeah.
now, actually.
But so yeah, let's keep looking at OUST. So we'll keep looking. So in this case, not a whole lot of OI change, which would signify that, and this is kind of a bad example. So there wasn't anything crazy that happened. So no one is okay. So assuming that all this unusual activity is happening for some unknown to the public reason, it's pretty much safe to assume that no one got into it yesterday, because otherwise there might have been like a pretty big increase in open interest on like some of the call strikes. So let me see if I can find a better example of a ticker where this might be useful. Let me think. Give me a second to scroll my Twitter for a sec. Make some funny noises while I'm looking at this. Okay, thank you.
Got
All
you,
right,
fool.
so okay, so yesterday we saw. Let me copy this link. Boom. All right, so yesterday intraday scalp opportunity. If you held, probably a little bit sad. But yeah, so yesterday we had an opening hood trade for like an in the money call, and there was like a pretty large quantity of them. So yeah, the open interest difference here. So let's actually check to see if they held. I didn't follow this whale until the bell. So let's see if they actually held. So let me go back to, let's find this trade again. So it was a hood opening call. So if I just turn on the hood big opening calls, I could probably get to it pretty quickly.
Where the hood, where the hood, where the hood
Okay,
at?
so it's right here. So this trader, it looks like we might be able to work out that this. Okay, so let me backtrack. Here's the trade in question. Let me get to the point I was trying to make before I go on off on another tangent. So let's check the open interest. So indeed, this trader held, and these contracts are trading at a current bid ask of 62.63 after they bought them for 115. So they are not feeling well. And yes, let me continue getting to my point before I go off on a tangent. So let's see if that was a big open interest change. So assuming, let me rewind, assuming that this trader's position is not completely screwed, which it is, assuming, I mean, maybe hood just like moons tomorrow, but if we check out this highest or high open interest table, we can indeed see, or was it for this week or was it for next week? Sorry, my memory is. Okay, so it's for next week. So they're not completely fucked. So they have one more extra week than I thought. So this isn't a weekly, it's a next week expiring call. So we did confirm that they held. We've confirmed it two ways. One way is we've gone into this menu, we can see the open interest change, so we know that they held. And the other way is if we go to this intraday analyst page and go to the highest open interest increase, you can see right here, my highlighting mouse is no good, but yeah, so right here, the hood,
Yeah.
16.5 calls. The open interest change was 3,325%, which like seems like an astronomical figure, but like it's only because the previous day OI was 164, and now it's like, 5,500, 5,600, which isn't like a crazy number, but like obviously the ratio is pretty big. So they did hold overnight. Yeah, so they are not feeling well. They held. And not with this stock, I guess, because like, I mean, it's like, it's hard to be bullish hood. But like, you don't always have to jump into the, like the whale activity, like as soon as you see it for like the first time, because, there's plenty of opportunities to like look for a better spot. So like, let's say you didn't enter, like you can wait till the next day to, or, even in the same day, just look for a better spot because you can usually find one. Like, because probably more times than not, I buy a call and then I most definitely could have just bought it for cheaper at like multiple points
Yep.
throughout its,
One
throughout
mistake I
holding
always
it.
make with that is I'll I'll see flow and then I'll always tell myself I'll wait until the end of the day to grab it. And pretty much every time that I don't do that, like you said, there's almost always been a better entry. And to that tune, I am someone who likes to, when I see, a big volume on something, especially if it has low I to begin with, I like to wait till the next day to see if it sticks before I make that decision, assuming, of course, it doesn't make that big move that I want beforehand, right?
Yeah. So just moving on real quick, let me just wrap up this page. There's also the highest open interest here. If it says this weird thing, that just means that there is no volume today. So these are the positions that are being held. Maybe I guess we could say bag held. So here's a pretty good example, just laid out right for us, that open interest is not always such a good thing, because the highest open interest on this ticker is a 22.5 strike call for about 45 days. And we got a long way to go for, what was it? 22.5. Yeah, I mean, there's like,
Damn.
it never even fucking was in the same zip code as 22.5. So yeah, open interest, not always such a good thing. Like, let's look at Hood's open interest. So yeah, I mean, like 40 strike calls for May. Let's actually see when that open interest was all created. So if we look at the historical, so someone actually yesterday
Grab the chunk.
created like around 8,000 of them, and the position was maintained overnight. So let's actually take a look at this. So the Hood 40 strike calls for May, and we wanted yesterday. So let's go to yesterday. The 40 strike call, or was it the calls, or did I say?
It was the
Yep, so
calls.
calls. What is going on?
Maybe the time range.
I might be doing something. The time range might be it.
I think I still have to do that sometimes. Go to the open to close actual hours.
Okay, so there might be something going on here on our end, which is our bad.
Oh,
Okay, so
6-9, nice.
okay, so
Nice.
again, this is kind of like one of those situations again where it's a mix of like quote unquote bid and ask activity, but this is only going in one direction for sure. This is like, there's no way. Okay, so let me just rewind. There is a way that it is multiple people, but like, come on. Like, it's being filled in similar quantities, and let's see. It's being filled in similar quantities, and like I said before, like just a shit ton of volume out of nowhere. So it's hard to tell if they were bought. Sorry, where was that screen? It's hard to tell if they were bought or sold because again, it's kind of like a wonky bid-ask situation. So it's hard to tell here, but I mean, like, I'm most certainly not gonna be following this whale. So we confirmed that they did hold overnight. So I mean, if they're short those calls, then good for them, because I don't think Hood would be $40 by May. But if they're long, they held overnight. Either way, if they're short or they're long, they held overnight. So that's how you can just use this information to like make to basically you know what's happening. I know that someone held overnight. You can use just sheer numbers to make I'm not gonna say assumptions, to just know stuff essentially. Let me see if I can just pull up a really good example. I think I can. Hopefully, I'm right. So we'll fact check me right now on something that I tweeted, and we'll do it live because I didn't actually check. I just tweeted it and I assumed that was right, and then I moved on. Okay, so here's the tweet. It was from January 3rd, which was 2 days ago. So we'll just break down exactly what I saw in chronological order. So yesterday at 9:50 in the morning, we saw some 80 strike calls come in for ATVI, like a whole bunch of them. So it looks like it looks like a pretty quote. It could be a bullish position, but again, so we have to look at all the information here. So if we look at the size, we see a 12,000 block of contracts, which was essentially the entirety of the volume for that day. And then the open interest exceeds 12,000. There's like significantly more, so it's hard to tell if this was an opening or closing position. It could be either or. So let's look into it, and let's see if I actually showed. Okay, so I didn't show it, but in the tweet. But essentially, what I did was when I saw this, I did the old this thing, and then I saw when, and we'll just actually just pull it up. So what was it? Okay, so if you see this crazy BMY shit, yep, BMY.
There we go. Divvy spam, let's go!
So you see this, what's happening? You look at the strikes, you look at the underlying, you compare it, it's kind of like it's in the money. Like, look at this. It's unreal. What's happening? So this happens all the time, so it's nothing to be alarmed about. You can actually just pretend like you didn't see it. You can give it the old minus BMY, and be clean of it
And
if
clean
you don't want it.
silence.
But anyways, if you see that, this is what you should do. You pull up Google, you type in BMY X dividend date. Lo and behold, if the X dividend date is the very next day, you can carry on with your life and just pretend like you didn't see it. And let me link a good resource that will explain why you don't need to worry about that shit. So I just typed it into the Twitch chat, and Nedu just typed it in the Discord chat. So yeah, so do not be alarmed. But anyways, back to what I was saying. So let's pull up this ATVI historical. So I'm gonna do that in a different way. So like I said, let's actually just close these windows. I got too much shit going on here. All right, so like I said, you can click it in here to see it here, but alternatively, you can go to the tickers menu. You can type in your ticker. You can select your ticker, and then you can select historical flows, and then you have some handy drop downs here. So what did I say it was? I said it was the February 80 strike calls. What day in February? The 18th. 80 strike calls. And about 12,000 of them. Was that the third? Sorry, I'm jumping around like a fucking crackhead. All right, so here's all that volume that they created. Okay, so let me rewind. So we're gonna teleport back in time and pretend like we're at January 3rd. So we're not gonna look at any of this January 4th and 5th information. So let me just take it off the screen. So this is what I basically saw. And I saw that there was 12,000 contracts being transacted. I said transacted, not bought, sold, whatever. Transacted. That's like the main word I think you want to use if you are unsure. Transacted is just like a nice safe word, so you don't say the wrong thing or say something that isn't like quote unquote true. So I'm scrolling all the way down here, and I see this one date in November where there was like a pretty large amount of contracts transacted and then held overnight to create a larger there's like this block is essentially tipping me off that this might have been a position that is closed, which is an assumption that I made right here. So ATVI 80 strike calls on the ask side, but it looks like a closing trade from something that was opened 11/16. So like I said here, 11/16, there was a lot of volume that translated into open interest the next day. So let's actually pull it up, or do I have it in the tweet? Okay, I just have it. I have it in the tweet as well. So I went back to 11/16, and we can see all these 80 strike calls. The block of it, and it was in smaller blocks this time, so it's not one singular block. And it doesn't add up to 12,000, but like you can see like the bits and pieces of it here. So if I look at the premiums, so I'm running a $50,000 premium, right? So there's nothing underneath 50,000 here. So if I had a lower premium, then I would have probably seen the other fragments of it. So here's 8,000 right here, and then here's another 1,300. So there's 9,300 contracts of the 12,000-ish that I mentioned. But like here, I saw that they had sold to open this position. And again, this icon, this little bag icon that we talked about at the very beginning of the stream, it's only for positions that we know are being opened for sure. So given the relationship between the size, the open interest, and the volume, we know that this specific position right here is being opened. So again, it doesn't have that information here. And that's because when this initial 632 size contract came in, there was already about 4,000 contracts existing. So like you just can't tell. So that's why the icon is not there. But we've worked out, given we've seen this, and I closed the window, but we had that historical data right here that we parsed through, and then we worked out that it was created in November, which was right here. So if you saw this trade but didn't do any more looking into it, then you might have, like, you just chased a ghost, I guess, is like the best way to say it. It's not to say that it doesn't print, because I'm pretty sure I said it in the Discord server. I said, hey guys, like, don't chase this, because it's like most likely a closing position. And it was. We just confirmed that it was. And it profited like intraday. So like, okay, yeah, it made money. You could have chased it and you could have made money, but you weren't following, like, you weren't actually following a whale. You were just following like its fart, essentially. So like, that's the best way I can put it. So you got to look into it. And I think yeah. So later in the day, can I zoom in? I saw it again with KSS. Let me lean in here and look at my screen up close. So okay, we'll do some due diligence here. So let's look at the KSS 60 strike calls for January 21st. KSS 60 strike calls, January 21st. What did I say? 60, January 21st. Got the worst fucking memory. I'm gonna probably need to look at it again. What did I say it was? 60. Okay, so right here. Again, on the 3rd, I saw a whole bunch of volume. Track the volume to this day right here. So same thing. On this day, they sold to open a bunch of KSS calls. So they sold some covered calls. You can see that the closing bid ask was around, we'll be generous, we'll just say 40 cents. So we'll say they sold the contracts for about 40 cents a rip, and then they closed it for, and then we'll just round it up to 20. So we'll say that they closed it for 20 cents. So 40, 20, 50% gain on closing the covered calls there. So if you chased, and you probably can't see it here, but if you recognize the color scheme, so we have like the ass side KSS calls. If you chased the calls there, you were chasing nothing there, right? So they were just closing their position. You can't always tell, because in the two examples I've just given you with ATVI and KSS, there's just like a big fat block here. So you can easily track it. But in the case of, like, we'll just take a look at something like Tesla, and Tesla's just going to be like probably insane. So like, we'll just look at, okay, so we'll look at the weekly 115 or 1150 strike calls. What's Tesla at right now? Tesla's at 1096. So yeah, you can see, like, around here there was, okay, so actually let me just reference C. So between the 23rd and the 27th, there was another 300 contracts carried over. And so that means that there was at least a 300 contract whale somewhere in here, or maybe not even a 300 contract whale, just maybe 300 individuals. But you just can't tell. And now there's no way that I'm going to be able to tell if they left or not, because there's just so much going on here at this point. So you can't always track the whales super easily, but you can sometimes in the case of KSS and ATBI.
So real quick, Snorlax, if you don't mind doing almost a real-time look-see, someone in chat mentioned a whale that came in on VRM, and I pulled
Let's take a
up
look.
VRM in the flow, and it seems almost to me like a position was opened and promptly closed.
Let's take a look. Okay, so VRM.
Those two add up to the 3rd, give or take 10.
So it's possible, or it's possible that they're in for all of them. So it all happened at the same time. So
Yep.
So we can work out that it's most likely the same person. You can't always, because there's a lot of options trades going on. If we just rewind and go to Apple, for example, like, there's just always so much going on that you can't always tell if it's the same person. So like, these two trades happened at the same time, but like, it's highly unlikely that, and it could be, you never know. Someone could be shorting this 175 put and buying a 130 call. kind of a strange play. So that's why I can work out that it's not exactly, or most likely not the same person. But so you can't always tell. Sometimes you can't tell.
VRM.
Not CRM, VRM. Yeah. So in this case, I think we can work out that it is the same person. And again, given what can happen between wide bid asks, it seems that this person is probably long all 5,000,
Purchasing
give
them.
or take. Yeah. So they're probably long that. Malhick said Dollar Tree. Yep. So I tweeted about Dollar Tree earlier. I was gonna do a follow-up tweet, but I got distracted actually. So there is a shit ton of volume on some June contracts. It started earlier the day. It's just kind of been happening nonstop ever since. When did I start? When did I see it? Let's see. DL. Excuse me. So 11:35 a.m. started seeing a whole bunch. And let's see. Oh, just now someone came in for some more. I got something stuck in my throat. I'm dying, Stoner. Help me.
You need more weed, son.
All right.
Hydrate, folks.
A whole shit ton of these. It's probably because I've just been talking nonstop. But yeah. Definitely.
I wanted to feel special.
Definitely interesting.
Nib says hydro homies.
So yeah, it started around here. Just been carrying out throughout the whole day, honestly. Let's bump up the premium so we can just see what some of the bigger blocks look like. So I bumped it up to 50. This might not even be enough. Let's give it 6 figures. There we go. So again, it started around 938 on the bid side. And given what you see here, you might assume that it was being sold because it says sell. Okay, the bid ask, it looks good. But you have to use new information as you see it. So up until this point, up until like here, I might have been like, okay, someone is bearish Dollar Tree. They're taking advantage of, of a spike coming, right here. Let's see. So I don't know. Maybe I would initially think, okay, they're short these calls. But as new information comes in, I have to change my mind here. Like, throughout the day, there was just more and more coming in on the ask side in significant volume and in quantity and in like just big fat blocks. So like, yeah, people are buying a shit ton of these Dollar Tree contracts. Good request there, Malhick, for sure.
And Dollar Tree bumped prices, didn't they?
Yeah, they said like
25% or some shit.
150. Let's see here.
Oh, 150 from a buck? That's a 50% increase.
Let me see. Oh, never mind. 125. It was
25. You gaslight my ass.
So yeah.
I mean, that'll slash can change
store.
Things.
The 5-quarter store. Yeah, let me catch up on the chat real quick here. How's Moo looking? Let's take a look at Moo. There was some whale activity up probably earlier this week.
A number of Unusual Whales partners were pushing on MU.
I'm looking at Moo, right. Sorry, I had a brain fart. Let's see if there's any whales. Sorry, so I've kind of shown you... What I've shown you so far today is stuff that is easily identifiable. Like, so we've looked at big blocks, big fat blocks, big continuous volume happening throughout the day that we can like just make really solid assumptions on. Hey, these people are buying this. Hey, these people are buying to close this. These people are buying to open this, etc., etc. I've shown you some pretty clear-cut examples where you can work it out in your mind. Now, with something, and this might apply to Moo, and we'll take a look. This might not apply to Moo, and it can do both. So let's take a look at the 25K plus flow for Moo. Just a quick cursory glance So we're obviously only going down to about the last hour and a half or so. So there wasn't any like insanely massive like $1 million whales.
Oh damn! Real quick,
I mean, you
MU
got
went from
some.
very green to quite red today, actually.
Uh, did it? Let's actually take a
At
look at the
one point, it was
chart.
up to 98.26, and it is down to it closed at 94.40. Up again,
Yeah.
bit in
So
after hours, but
so it was up 3%, and then yeah. So, but anyways, so no like insanely massive big whales here. So there is like a 350,000 kind of deep in the money whale here. But that's not something that like that says like a whole lot. So not a whole lot going on here for Moo, but we could, and hopefully this lets me search it while I'm logged out. Okay, so like I said, in this feed, no insane whales. Let's actually just maybe bump it up and check it out again real quick just to be sure. So if I bump it up to 100,000 for today, we do have like kind of some whales here, but like nothing distinctly directional. So we'll just say that there's basically nothing here to immediately act on. However, and if I can find it, when would it have been? Wouldn't have been too long ago. Okay, so when was this? This was December 29th. So maybe if I go to December 29th, just maybe. Okay, so on the 29th, what did we see? We saw. Okay, so we'll just kind of reference my tweet because maybe it won't be super visible here given it's in the past. Okay, so basically there was just like a lot of money going into these specific contracts at the time when I made the tweet. So on the 29th, there's a whole bunch of money going into the weekly contracts. And that is something that we could see. Like you could kind of see it happening if you were just looking at like as side call flow. Like obviously if you just look at specifically this, you're going to see exactly what you want to see to support your thesis. So yeah, there was like a whole bunch of bull flow on that day that was like it was easier to see then, I guess, and that just kind of sounds like a cop out. But like they were like let's see if I can find these blocks. I think my premium might be too high, but there was just like a whole bunch throughout the middle of the day. A lot of the different like of the bigger like Twitter people, I guess, were talking about it as well. Which actually so that brings me up to like another point regarding like kind of big cap tickers, right? So like there's always going to be a whole bunch of bullish flow on Apple. There's always going to be bullish flow on Tesla. Like no matter like if you want to look for bullish flow on any ticker, you're going to see bullish flow. So that's why, as I said when I was kind of breaking down those clear-cut examples, those are examples where you don't have to do a whole lot of guesswork. You just see, hey, there isn't a lot of call activity on this ticker, but all of a sudden this person is buying, 10,000 contracts of like whatever. So like I can track this. Whereas with Moo, there's just like already so much open interest. The same will go for Apple, Tesla, Nvidia. Like there's a lot of noise with like the super mega cap tickers, which is why, and you can use the flow. I mean, there's people that use it and they do well. But like I can't speak to something that I don't personally like do. So like I'm not gonna look at uh like and so here's like a bigger block, right? So let's just pretend like I didn't see that. So like these $100,000 contracts, like there's a lot of them, sure. But like I said, if we only want to look at uh let's see, bullish activity, we'll see it. If you want to look for bullish activity, you're gonna find it. So make sure you're looking for everything and not just like stuff to support your bias.
And real quick, you made that mention about tracking things, and we've been kind of going through, or rather, you've been kind of going through how to track some of these things. Can you go ahead and show them this? Because this is new since we took our break. The
What's
save
up?
a trade feature.
Yes. Give me 1 second. Okay, so save a trade. Let's say, and okay, I can just use any trade here. So you want to save a trade. That's what this little heart icon is for. If you can't see this heart icon, you can turn it on by using the table settings button here. And it's this item here. So I turn it off, it's gone. I turn it on, it's on. So from here, I can, and let me just get rid of NVIDIA. Let's also, for the sake of the example, get rid of these. Okay, so I'm gonna save. I like this Apple whale, and I'm not tracking any whales. I'm just literally clicking on random stuff here. So I'm gonna save this Apple.